Good morning, South Africa, and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. This morning, I would like to look at the factual findings of the Free State High Court against General Cibia. You know, people have always said that social media speculates and indulges in rumors and all sorts of unfounded allegations. This morning I bring you the factual findings of a court of law, the Bloemfontein High Court, the Free State High Court rather, sitting in Bloemfontein on the 8th of August, 2025, presided over by the Honorable Justice Dafu. And these are the factual findings which are relevant for the purposes of this episode. Justice Dafu found, as a matter of fact, that the allegations made by Patricia Mashali against General Cibia had not been denied, and he took them to be common cause. You see, in law, if an allegation is made and it is not denied, that which is not specifically denied is specifically admitted. Judge Dafu made the following findings. 1. Judge Dafu found that, as a matter of fact, General Cibia was one of the first people to arrive on the scene shortly after Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed on the 26th of October 2014. Shortly thereafter, or more or less at the same time, Warrant Officer Makhubo also arrived. Now we know, as a matter of fact, that General Cibia is senior to Warrant Officer Makhubo. And upon the arrival there, Cibia was in charge of operations. One of the things that Cibia did was to order Warrant Officer Makhubo to have the crime scene cleaned up. A very startling development indeed, because the police were not there to clean up the crime scene. They were there to preserve the crime scene, to ensure a proper investigation takes place. So it was then that General Cibia ordered Warrant Officer Makhubo to clean up the crime scene. It was at this stage that Warrant Officer Makhubo then refused to clean up the crime scene, to tamper with the crime scene, an instruction that was clearly illegal, and that Warrant Officer Makhubo was under no obligation to carry out, in spite of the fact that Cibia was his senior. When this happened, Warrant Officer Makhubo was then chased away from the scene, or ordered away from the scene, by General Cibia. This, for the first time, is coming up in a court of law. That led Warrant Officer Makhubo to open up docket 375. Now we now know, as a matter of fact, that 375 was opened as a docket by Warrant Officer Makhubo in 2019. And the people who have been charged under 375, among others, is General Shadrach Cibia, for defeating the ends of justice. In other words, once Cibia and Makhubo parted ways at the crime scene on the 26th of October, Makhubo made it very clear that he would have nothing to do with the cleaning of the crime scene and the non-preservation of the crime scene, which is a standard police investigative procedure. He then opened up a docket 375 against his own senior for defeating the ends of justice, because the act of cleaning up the crime scene was an act to defeat the end of justice. Because subsequent to the cleaning of the crime scene, no proper investigation would have taken place. So we now know, coming out of a court of law, exactly why 375 was opened by Warrant Officer Makhubo. Up to now, Warrant Officer Makhubo lives in fear of his life and lives in a safe house somewhere. So these are the startling disclosures. In conclusion, then, we saw how Justice Dafoe awarded Patricia Mashane, the respondent, because General Cibia here was the applicant, and he was doing so in his own personal capacity. Costs were awarded to Patricia Mashale against against General Shadrach Cibia, after the court found that there was no substance behind his allegations that, the disclosures that had been made by Patricia Mashale were defamatory of him. So that is the situation as it obtains today, that we now know as a matter of fact that General Cibia is one of the people who are charged by Warrant Officer Makhubo under docket 375. It is all becoming very interesting. What do you think? It's all becoming very interesting. Because you see, these things, when they first come up on social media, people just simply dismiss them as speculation, they dismiss them as rumors, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. But when they come up in a court of law, they take a totally different dimension. It is now evidence that we can rely upon. It is now information that ought to be disseminated without any fear coming from anywhere against anybody. So that is the news that we have for you today. 375 was a docket to charge, among others, General Cibia with defeating the ends of justice by tampering with that crime scene. Having said that, let me thank you for all the views that I'm seeing. Let me thank you for all the subscriptions, the likes, and the shares that I'm seeing. Remember, we are going to that magical 10,000 subscriber mark. All it takes is to raise your two hands and count up to 10. We are almost there. And I know that it is only through you and only through you that we can make it. Thank you very much for your support, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.